My name is Carlos Walker, and this is Forward Progress. And today I got Mr. Donald Hinton with me. If you will, share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
My name is Donald Hinton, and a little bit about me is I did a lot of time in prison for guns and drugs. And while I was in there, I learned some things. When I learned these things, the biggest thing about knowledge is power, but implementation is the key to it. So I implemented these things, and when I got out of prison, I started investing. I've invested in real estate, stock market, all of that stuff, but real estate is the one that changed my life. And the reason why it changed my life is because your rent is your biggest expense. So these guys getting out of prison, what if they didn't have rent? How far ahead could they get? And over these 5 years since I've been out, I acquired 15 properties, and that's how far you can get if you don't have a rent expense.
Okay. So, if you don't mind me asking, how long did you do?
I did 2 years in the state and 6 years in the Fed, so I did 8 years altogether.
All right. Now we're going to get into the best parts, and this is your story.
Okay,
So, as I was just sharing with you, uh, I wrote a book. It's called The Autobiography of the Butterfly, How the Caterpillar Made It Through. We're going to go into your caterpillar stage now, and we're going to gradually get up to your butterfly stage.
okay.
So, share a little bit about who you were before prison. You can go as far back as when you was a child up until the point before you got in trouble.
Okay. So I grew up in a small town. It's called Alton, Illinois. It's down by East St. Louis.
Okay.
So I grew up without a dad. You know, my dad did 20 years in the feds.
Mm.
So the streets raised me. So I ended up falling victim to that type of lifestyle. And, just guns, drugs, money, just all of that stuff. And I tried to change. I ended up moving up to Iowa to try to change my situation. But if you don't change you, when you change your environment, it's still the same. So
Come
you got
on.
to change you and the environment. So I went up to Iowa, brought all of the silliness with me, and the feds sat me down for a while. So while I was in prison,
Hold on. Before we get there, I want to dig a little deeper.
okay,
Who were you when you was a kid?
when I was a kid, I was just a normal kid. Everybody said I was smart, but I used to do dumb stuff. Like, for instance, when I was 16, that's when I was 14 through 16, that age, when I started selling drugs. So I was the type that go out of town to get the drugs so I can go get it for cheaper, stuff like that. Just thinking outside the box. The world is big. We don't like confined to that one small little town. You only gonna become as big as that small town. So
Come
I,
on now.
I used to travel to go get it, and uh, just doing stuff like that. So that's who I was. That was my personality. So eventually, whenever I started traveling, going to Iowa and stuff like that, it just caught up with me. And I was smart. I did go to school. I did like a year in college, but it just the streets that had me in that lockhold. I have a job, but at the same time, I'm still hustling. So it was like one foot in and one foot out, and we all know you can't do that.
Nah. So, I know you was about to take the story off into. Matter of fact, Tim, explain a little bit about the college life because some people that in the streets never make it never make it to college. So,
Oh,
share a little bit about that.
okay, so uh, I moved up to Iowa so I can graduate high school, right? So I graduated, and then I eventually went to college for a year. I went to a college for a year and a half, something like that, to a little community college. And, I was still doing the same thing. I was just selling weed and stuff then, but I was going to school and studying dental. I wanted to be a dentist. So I was doing that and taking all my prereqs to that. College was cool. It wasn't like nothing major, but it was just something to do. So I just went, you know, sat down and learned some more stuff. I'm a big on learning, putting that information in my head, trying to get to the bottom of stuff. So by me taking those those prerequisites like the sciences and the psychologies and stuff. That's what I'm into. So um, that was what I did. So
Okay. Now, if you want to explain, you can tell a little bit about how or what transpired that got you in trouble.
what? Well, so when you in that street life, you doing drugs, you selling drugs. So I was drinking and smoking and all of that stuff. So I ended up getting caught with some X pills and some weed, right? And I never been in trouble before, so they slapped me on my wrist and they gave me probation.
Mm.
But that didn't work. I did like 4 months in a county jail. That didn't work, So I got out and started doing the same thing. And while I was on probation, I ended up catching a gun charge and a dope charge with crack. So then that's whenever it got serious.
And what year was this?
The first one was 2008 and 9 when I caught the probation. So then in 2012 is when they kicked my door in and got the
The
other.
gun and the crack.
Yeah.
So you came in after the Fair Sentencing Act was inducted.
Hmm.
After Obama had changed the 18-1 laws.
Hmm.
So you didn't get sentenced to the 100-1. You got sentenced to the 18-1 with the gun.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think I think I did get some time off from Obama. Like he
Mm-hmm.
was leaving out. He was leaving out whenever I was coming in. So I think I did get some time off for that, but it wasn't much. I think I got like 3 months off of my sentence. But the Second Chance Act, that one put me like 6 months off of my sentence. So they both
Okay.
they both took time off of my sentence.
Okay. So when did you actually? You say you've been home now? What, 5 years?
5 years.
So you came home in 2000.
Uh, I got out the halfway house in 2000, so I hit the halfway house in the
In the 19.
August or September of 19, and then I officially got out 2020.
Okay. So you benefited from both spectrums, from Obama and from when Trump signed the First Step Act.
First step, yeah.
Okay. Well, congratulations. Look, hey, I'm part of the First Step Act myself.
Okay.
Yeah. So
How much you get off on yours?
4.5.
You got 4.5 years off.
Yeah.
Dang, that's a
Yeah.
blessing, man.
I got to see both of my parents before they passed on this side.
Wow, that's
Hey,
man.
mind blowing. What I seen God do is crazy.
Yeah.
But so while you was in, share a little bit about the things that you learned, what you was like when you first got there, when you may have came to yourself and say, you know what, I'm gonna buckle down and do something different.
Okay. So 2012, I got sentenced. I went to the state prison, so I was in the state for 2 years. And while I was in the state, that's whenever it was my first time in prison. I didn't know nothing about no prison experience, so I'm just doing my bit, reading my books, working out, watching Love and Hip Hop, and all of the nighttime shows. And um, like I said, I wasn't real dumb, so I always read and learned new stuff. But it was um, it was when I went to the feds, it got real because I was in a lower security level in the state. So when I
Mhm.
got to the feds, they put me in a medium where
Okay.
they got the doors that lock and your celly and cars and all the politics and stuff like that, right? So if you know, you know. So if you going from like this regular prison bit to something like that, putting you in an environment, it's like a shell shock. So I ended up being a store man. So I was a store man, just running my store and staying out the way. Um, and then one day, my uh, my son came to visit me,
Mhm.
and that was the exact same prison that I visited my dad at. So this was Oxford, Wisconsin. And by me being in that visiting room with him and, seeing both sides of that thing, it just broke me down, man. I ain't gonna lie. I was down for like uh, maybe 2.5, 3 years at the time, but that was the first time I cried when I got back to my cell, man. I broke down and I was like, man, because it wasn't the time or nothing like that. It was just like the reality. That's whenever, it hit. Like it hit. Like damn, I'm in the same one my dad was at. You know what I mean? If I don't change, my son gonna be in this same one. You
Mm,
know. So my grandpa been to the feds, my dad been to the feds. Now I'm in the feds, man. This stuff got to change, man. So that's whenever it got real serious, and I put down the James Pattersons, got away from the TV, and started educating myself on real stuff. Like like in the feds. So after that, I get transferred to a low, Lexington, Kentucky. So while I'm in the low, it's more freedom. Like it ain't that politics stuff. Politics, for the people that don't know, is like you got to be with the GDs, or you got to be with the Christians, or you got to be with the Muslims. Whoever you gonna be with, you go be with them. And if something happened in their car, you're part of that car. So if one of your homeboys is stealing, you gotta do what y'all gotta do.
y'all got to
And that's
check him.
yeah, man, and it's like it's real stressful, I would say, because it's like, man, we trying to go home and people crashing out, like messing up my time and stuff like that. So that environment was real stressful. When I got to a low, it was just like a breath of fresh air. So I'm running my store and I'm just out the way. I'm working Unicore, coming home, running my store, sitting there reading, and just focused on when I get out. So um, the thing about the feds is at those lower spots, you got those guys that did the white collar crimes.
Hmm.
So that's where you meet like the real millionaires that did something. Like coming from where I'm from, only millionaire I probably ever seen was somebody selling dope, right? And he
Hmm.
probably wasn't. He probably wasn't a millionaire. He just had a whole lot of money.
Hmm.
But when you actually meet a millionaire, they demeanor change, everything changed about them. And contrary to belief, the people in the feds don't want you to come back, so they're going to teach you the right way to do things. They're not going to teach you to how to embezzle $1 million. No, they're going to teach you how to make $1 million legitimately. So those are the guys I rub shoulders with, and that's what I did. I educated myself from those guys as my mentors.
So before I actually should have stopped and did this, when you first got your time, because I like to deal with the psychological things of things. When you went to court and you actually received your time, what was running through your mind? If you can go back now, how was your mind state? What was it like?
Okay, it was two stages. So that first stage was when they kicked the door in, and he was like, "Man, you about to get 5 years just for the gun. You better tell on somebody." And I told him, like, this how young, dumb I was. I was like, "Man, I got time to kill, whatever." That's what I told him. Like, it's like, how could you think like that? But then when they actually gave me the 17, it was like 17 years. Um, it was 10 in the state and then 7 in the Fed. So when they actually gave me the time, I'm calculating like, dang, I'm about to do 9 years. And it it's like, I guess I still had the dumb mindset because they like, you get 10, you win. And I'm like, well, I'm under 10, so I guess I ain't doing life. You know what I mean? So I guess I really, it didn't hit me. You know what I mean? I don't think that time ever hit me until my son came in. That's
Mm.
whenever it hit me like, yeah, you about to see him when he 10. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, that kind of that was the psychological. It didn't hit me until I realized like your kids is about to grow up without you. So
Mm. All right. Now, you done digested and you're digesting this information that these millionaires and all these people are giving you.
mhm.
And you're still in prison. What was your dreams like? What did you start putting in process, or how did you start changing your mindset to get you to where you're at today?
I think it was it was those ACE classes. They got ACE classes in there where you learn the real estate, stock market, and stuff like that. But the inmates is the ones teaching it. So this banker was teaching real estate. You know what I mean? So that, and he was from Africa. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
it's just so many different pieces you picking up from him because you learning about how to creative finance this property while learning about fufu. You know what I mean? So
Come
it's
on.
you just learning different things, and it was like a different culture. You learning about his culture, but you learning about investing in something legitimate and making the same amount of money as I did selling dope. And it was like it was like another light. You know what I mean? It was. We always talk about the kids putting down the guns and doing something positive, but if you don't give them nothing positive to do, what they gonna do when they put down the gun? They got to do something. You know what I mean?
You leave them idle, and what they say, an idle mind is a devil's workshop.
Yeah. So you got to give them something to do. You know what I mean? You can't just tell them stop doing that. No, show them a different route. So when they showed me stock market, it was just like hustling. You know what I mean? And then you equate it to like the first of the month. You know, you getting this rent check, so it's like, oh yeah, I'm about to do this. You know what I mean? So that's how I did it. And sat down, learned, studied. It was really real estate. I think was the one that caught my eye the most. Stock market was yes, I'm gonna do that, but real estate is like we need a place to live. Like the stock market do what it want to, but the real estate you need a place to live, so you gonna make that money every month. You know.
So from there, when it came time for you to come home, because you did say you ended up getting the First Step Act. When it
Mhm.
came time for you to come home, it knocked 6 months off. What was running through your mind when you got the time off, and when it actually happened?
So while I'm studying this stuff, I'm still a store man, right? And I'm still
Hmm.
working Unicorn. So I'm stacking all my bread. The goal was to have 10,000 when I got out, and I reached that goal, you know. So when it was time to come home, it was like excitement. You know how like I ain't no sports player, but you know how like when you about to get put in the game, like it's time to go. Like, yeah, let me get I'm about to I'm about to kill it out here.
It's
Like,
my time. Give me the ball.
that's how it was. So it was just like I was ready for it. Like I'm about to go to the city. I don't know nobody. I'm about to turn up. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's like it was excitement. It was nervousness. I ain't gonna lie, because being gone this long and then you don't know what's out there waiting for you. It was nervous, but it was more of an excitement than nervousness.
And it ain't like you came home without. So
Yeah.
you kind of set yourself up to win. Like when I
Mm.
came home, I only came home about $900. But I wasn't in a sticky situation.
Okay.
I didn't know where I was going now. I mean, I didn't know what job or what I was going to do,
Hmm.
but I didn't come home without a place to stay. I didn't come home. You see what I'm saying? Certain
Yeah.
stuff. Some people do have, and I didn't have the halfway house. I
Mm.
went straight to straight. I got kicked out.
Mm.
So my situation was a tad bit different. But for you, you came set up. You set yourself up while
Yeah.
you was there. You had 10 grand. Look, coming home with probably a little bit more.
Hmm.
When you hit home, tell me what happened.
So what happened was I didn't go home. I was
Yeah,
like,
you went to the halfway house. Oh,
I went
and you went somewhere else.
I went to a city where I didn't know nobody in a
Mm,
halfway house. So that was the plan. Like if I go back home, I'm going I'm going to fall back into what I know, because that's
mm.
all I know. I know the people that sell dope. I know the people that's doing dumb stuff. I know if I go to my auntie and uncle house, we're gonna kick it, drink and smoke, right?
And I got money.
And I got money, so I'm about to get fresh and go in there and buy bottles and all of that stuff. So I went to a city where I didn't have nobody yet. It was still close to my kids and stuff, but I didn't know nobody here. So I got out and got on my plan. Find you some real estate, get in the stock market. So I started the stock market while I was in the halfway house, right? So I went and bought my phone, snuck it in, set up my Robinhood account, or my I think I did I think I was doing Thinkorswim at that time, but
Okay.
set that up and was trading up in there. So I'd be like, "Hey, can I go downstairs and check my phone to call somebody?" And then yeah, because you wasn't supposed to have them in the facility, so I wasn't always bringing it in, but I did to set that account up. You know what I mean? But I go downstairs. They let me get on my phone for 3 seconds while Trump was up in there tweeting about something stupid, and he was making the markets move. Man, I was eating up in the halfway house, but whenever I got out, uh, I found a landlord that was felon friendly. Um, Somebody had passed around a sheet of paper and it had landlords that was felon friendly. So I just looked at it, picked somebody and called him, and he's had a one bedroom for me. All right. And I told him my plan. I was like, man, I'm about to get in this stock market. You ever did the stock market? And he like, nah, I ain't never thought about it. Yeah. But we just chopping it up. And I was like, you got a building you want to sell? He was like, I'm gonna have one in a minute. It was COVID time, right? So he had this tenant that wasn't paying. So he was trying to get her out the crib. And um when she finally got out, he called me like, "Hey, she out. You can buy this crib if you want to." So I still had the 10 put up, and I gave it all to him. Everything I had, my last dime, gave it to him. Threw it, jumped out there. I ain't I ain't know what I was doing. I could have lost
Well,
all that.
you invested in your dream. You
Yeah.
believe.
That's what it take, man. Like people gotta jump out there like sink or swim, man. Cause he could have just gave me a bogus contract and was like and ran. You know what I mean? I didn't know nothing like I know now, like how to look up the property, see if he really owned it, and all of this stuff. Um, God was with me, so he ended up selling me this duplex. I lived in one. My tenant paid the mortgage, and it was up from there.
Hmm. So I heard you say that you own 15 real estate pieces of real estate at this moment.
Yeah.
So if you will, share a little bit about what else you have done over the last 5 years. Because
So
look,
that was
remember, this is forward progress and a
yeah,
where you have come from and what you have become, two total different people, and I appreciate that.
yeah, yeah. So up to that point, that was 4 years out of 4 months out of prison. So I was 4 months out, and I got my first property. For the people that don't know about it, it's called seller's finance. That's whenever you don't need credit, you don't need job history. The seller is financing this property. So up to that point, that's what I did. And then, like I said, my tenant was paying most of the mortgage. My mortgage was like $1,000, and my tenant was paying like 750 at the time. So I had a $200 more rent payment. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And it's a three-bedroom apartment. So that just show you the power of doing a duplex. So up to that time, I lived for free, so I still worked my job. I had a job at a factory, and still working it. So saving my money and still going. And then a lady we work with, we was giving her a ride home. She was like, "I want to sell my house." I was like, "What you want?" She was like, 25,000. I was like, "Let me buy it." And bought that. You know what I mean? Use my 401k. If people don't got money and they want to jump into the game, use your 401k. That's tax free. You ain't got to pay them taxes on that. And for a first time home, you know what I mean? So if you don't got the money, use that. Mine was only like $5,000, but I used it. Bought a property that's paying me for the rest of my life. So that was a year after I got out. I didn't have good credit, so I used a cosigner. All right. So these is all I'm giving you game right now. All of the game you can do to get in this, get in without, checking all the boxes to go into the bank. So then I started learning about it, and at this time I'm thinking I'm on top of the world. I'm living for free. I'm making this money legitimately for the first time in my life. So I ended up. It was my son's birthday, and my sister came up, and we ended up going out kicking it. And I fell back into the drinking and kicking it and stuff, and caught a DUI, man. Yeah, felony DUI. I got 4 DUIs, man. So I'm in a different state that I ain't supposed to be in. I'm out of town. I ain't tell my PO, and I'm drinking with no license. So it was a felony DUI. I paid a lawyer 10 bands, and he got me 30 days in jail. So my PO, she ain't really tripped. She gave me 14 days concurrent with the 30 days. And during that 30 days, I sat down and thought about it like, dude, you about to lose it all, right? Bro, you about to lose it all if you don't straighten up.
And you're doing great.
Yeah. And one slip up can do that. You know what I mean? So while I was in there, I thought about what I was gonna do. So I started writing. I wanted to write a course about how to get into real estate. All right. So I wrote the course, and when I got out, I started trying to pitch it to like halfway houses, the county jail, and just different people. Um, and nobody was biting. So I revamped it and ended up making it into a book. So the book is called From Prison to Properties. So I took that lemon that life threw me and I turned it into lemonade.
Come on.
This is what I sat down in that jail and did for that 30 days. So after I had a viable product that I could take people, now they like, oh yeah, we'll buy this. So, jail's been buying it, school's been buying it and stuff like that. And I go in and I speak and teach and stuff like that. So um over this time, now I'm back sober, I'm back focused, I'm back aligned on my purpose. And somebody came with a portfolio for sale of 11 houses. They wanted 500,000. I'm like, man, I ain't got 500,000. They like, oh, you could do this and do this. So I got creative with the financing, and I ended up acquiring a portfolio of 11 houses. That's how I scaled so quickly. And this is 3 years after I got out of prison. So I'm still on probation and all of that stuff, but you can do it if you really want to.
So if you don't mind me asking, how much longer do you have on probation?
I just got off probation like 3 months ago.
Congrats.
At the end of February, I got off probation. So that's really why you found me, because I've been promoting it like crazy now. Because through all of that time, uh, she didn't want me dealing with ex offenders, right? But she would let me do the juveniles. Like I go into the juvenile center, talk to the kids and stuff, and go into the schools, and she was okay with that. But when it came to going into the jails and the prisons, that wasn't happening. You know what I mean? So I got off probation in February, and I just been promoting like crazy. So that's how you found me, and I got a lot of stuff in the works where I'm about to be going into these jails and spreading this message.
Because you got the information, man. Look, you're the success story. I tell everybody that I have met, you are, I think, like number 65, 66
Yeah.
interview that I've done. But we are what Jordan was to Kobe, the example.
Mm,
Kobe took that example and made it better.
mm,
And all people need to do, people in prison, people out here, people who ain't never been to prison, they need to see great examples. And when they meet people who are such as yourself, what happens, they then get to be able to look at that light and be like, you know what? I want to be like that. I want
Hmm.
to own 15 to 20 houses. Guess what? He got the remedy. And they can model after that. Kobe, if you go back and you look at Kobe, Kobe wasn't nothing but a replica of Jordan that learned to put his own spin on it and put all of his hard work into it. That's the reason why you got the Mamba mentality and become better. He ain't the greatest as Jordan, but he did become greater because of the information that he had. You are the source. You
Hmm.
are you well because God has allowed you with information. Like you said, if people learn to apply the knowledge that they know, they can then become what they see. So for me, it is always an honor to be able to meet people like you because I understand how God is using people who some people counted out to make change in everybody's life.
Hmm.
So keep doing what you're doing, man. I just wanted to highlight you because of that and to let you know, look, I'm pretty sure you hear this all the time. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, bro.
And hey, I'm glad that God has brought me another brother that I can actually look at as an example, even for my own life. So I can actually share this with other people.
Yeah.
So if you will, before we leave, I want to ask you to drop a word of wisdom for anybody who maybe just starting out in their journey, whether they've been to prison or haven't, whether they're into real estate or not, whether they just want to start. Drop a word of wisdom for me.
A word of wisdom. Um, the life you live is the legacy you leave. And what I mean by that is like your example with the butterfly, like you're doing something. You're doing something every day, right? And people is gonna talk about it every day whenever you're not here. So what is they gonna talk about? What did you do this for? What difference did you make? Right? So the life you live in is the legacy you're gonna leave. So if you drinking and smoking every day, that's your legacy. That's what you're gonna talk about. But if you are doing something positive every day, it don't have to be great. You don't have to give the shirt off your back and stuff like that. You just got to be conscious of this is the life you live in, and this is the legacy you leave in. So my legacy, I just want to leave understanding a different route. Right? I didn't know no other way. So that's my legacy. I learned something new. I want to give it to the people. So that's the life I'm living. That's the legacy I want to leave.
Appreciate the word of wisdom and hey, I'll be calling you and making sure I stay in contact with you too, bro, because
Time.
you have a plethora of information that need to be shared with
Okay.
all, and I appreciate that. So, my name is Carlos Walker. This is Forward Progress, and today this is Mr. Donald Hinton. Blessings.
Yeah.